Morning, Jeff Lee, Chief of Avon Operations. I want to talk a little bit today about the salvia that you see here. This is a plant that we produced in-house by URCs. They call URC as unrooted cutting. They typically come in June. Once that cutting is rooted, ready to go, which we try and have that by mid-July, 1st of August, we shift them up. So this is the plant, and this is our main crop that we would have for spring sales. Obviously, over the course of the winter, we'll come in and cut them back. But this is what we do with these plants. Biggest number that we'll produce will be for that spring sales number, which will run from, let's say, March 15th up to June 1st. There are, on the more popular perennials, where we do split crops. We'll come in and can in March, April, May, June, etc., depending upon what we perceive as the demand on these plants. So you've always got a fresh crop and product coming forward. But salvia, phlox, there's a few other crops that we do from URCs. But this is an example of what it looks like. Today is September 15th. So really nice crop here. Look behind me. This one's May night. There's East Friesland Marcus in this grouping as well. Morning. We also want to talk about hosta today. This one is stained glass. This is one of the Plants at Work selections. Our production plan with hosta is we will get a tissue culture liner in, typically a 72 in May. We do grow these can to can under plastic throughout the course of the summer. As they get big enough, some of the bigger varieties like the stained glass, we will go out and space it prior to winter. We will not put these on inventory until we have a plant that's got some nice body to it. This is really what we want to see. These will be flowering a little bit later than normal, just due to the fact of the way we grew them and the way they're finishing for the year. So when you get a regular one that would, from the spring, it won't be blooming quite this late. The other advantage to this was to be in tissue culture. There should be no issue whatsoever with virus X. That was a big thing a number of years back. Don't hear much about it anymore, but with going with tissue culture, that eliminates that. And the other thing that this will do is this will give you a nice multi-fan division coming up in the spring. So all we really want to do this first year of growth for us is establish a nice base, nice root mass, so that come the following spring the plant just blows out of the pot. So once again, it's September 15th. We wanted to talk a little bit about the hydrangea program, what we're doing with it for spring. And at the end of it, we'll talk a little bit about fall color, leaf issues, etc. that are starting to appear on the plants. So the house that we're in, we do keep this at minimal heat in the winter. These plants will stay spaced all winter like you see here. All we wanted to do with these plants this year is build the body so it's nice and full, keep these plants short. Any of the endless summer they're remonting or reblooming, we do come through and trim these in the spring, so we'll take this growth off and that will reflush and give you a really nice full plant in the spring. The other thing that we do with these crops, even though they're not really scheduled for sales this time of year, we do keep a PGR on them to keep them short, keep them nice and full, and then we also do that in the spring as well to keep it so it's a lot fuller, shorter plant for you when it blooms. The other thing with this, we want to talk about leaf issues. We brought it up in a sales meeting here last week. If you look at this plant, it really looks pretty good. You will see a few leaves that have some leaf spot like this. This is Cercosporia. Any type of fungal disease that's on the leaf, we've already sprayed for it, so it's under control, and that's just the damage from it. You will also see, if you look close on this leaf here, on the tip, you can see some red. That's starting to show fall color, and these interior bottom leaves will start to show fall color. So once we get this late into September, we typically will roll these plants on, even though we know that there's some leaf issues. If you look at the plant overall, it's really, both these plants are really nice when you look from the top, nice and green and full, but there are some leaf issues that normally we wouldn't accept throughout the course of the summer. So keep that in mind when we talk about our leaf issues with the plants. Plants are still really nice, minimal amount of leaf issue per se, but that's what we're talking about. This is fungal, leaf spots, it's been sprayed. This is your fall color that you're starting to see on hydrangeas. So we're still on September 15th. We want to talk a little bit about our perennial hibiscus program. Perennial hibiscus over the years, breeding's been done for this darker foliage. and there's still some that are green foliage, but everyone is trying to breed them so they're shorter, fuller plants. They've got plenty of flower buds, not only as you can see here down at this inner stage here, but also another layer up top. These plants will continue to grow and bloom for you. You can see how nice this one's, just probably about 3/4 open. So these will be as big as your hand once they're in full bloom. Some of them bigger than that. These liners we typically will get in the end of May, 1st of June. They're just a small 72 cell. We'll grow them and then trim them. And then once they start growing after that trim, we do keep them treated with a PGR to keep them short. The advantage of the PGR is it prevents them from stretching, so the inner nodes that's in between the leaves stays really short, keeps them compact, and they won't fall over once they start flowering. You can see there's a lot of weight with those flowers. For winter storage, we put these plants in a what we call minimal heat house. We turn the heat up on these plants March 1st. We do not want to ship until we've got about 1 to 2 inches of new growth coming out of the ground. In the past we shipped, and because this plant does come up later in the spring, a lot of people would think they were dead. So we do want to ship them once they're about that 1 to 2 inch range. It typically happens around the 1st of May, depending upon the season. But that's what we do with our hibiscus. Like I said, what we look for is a nice full plant to stay short and full and nice and sturdy for everyone. So we were talking, one of the things was brought up about what you do in the winter. We don't cut the hibiscus back until they've actually died all the way down. So they're in the house, they're covered. We will come in probably like February, late January, February, make sure that everything is died all the way to the ground. It accomplishes a couple things. One, any food and carbohydrates, etc., that's up top now goes into the crown of the plant, gives you a sturdier, stronger plant come out in the spring. The other thing is some plants like this one, hibiscus, there's buddleia is another one. If you cut this off, the center of the core of the stem is what we call pithy, and once that rots, it will allow the water to go right down through that stem and eventually get into the crown, which could lead to crown rot. That's one of the things that's probably an issue more so of buddleia than hibiscus, but we always cut these back after they're totally dead. So don't be in a hurry to cut them back in the fall. Let nature do its thing. Come back in and cut them off in February, March. Initial cleanup in your garden. So we're in our epimedium crop. It's one of those crops that not a lot of people know a whole lot about. It is good for shaded areas, for dry locations, so it'd be good under a big shade tree like oaks or maples. Really, one of the keys that we found is getting a good liner. We've gone to, instead of some bare root sources, we've gone to an actual live growing, almost a 50 cell, so it's a bigger liner. Amber Queen and Pink Elf for a couple of them. We grow some Sulfurium and some other varieties, but this is ideally what we want to ship out in the spring. For anyone that isn't aware, this will die down over winter, flushes out. You'll have new growth similar to this coming up in the spring, so it has a little bit of a reddish cast to it. Plant flowers early in the spring. Really a tough plant for a harder than normal environment. This isn't something that you'd want to put in where you've got hosta. So nice clean crop, nice full plants this year. We think we finally figured out a way to grow these so we can produce this on a consistent basis now.